The warning alarm screamed through Captain Marcus Kane's damaged starship as it plummeted toward the emerald planet below. His hands flew over the controls, trying desperately to stabilize the vessel, but the hunter ships had done too much damage. Plasma burns scarred his left arm, and blood trickled down his forehead as he fought to maintain consciousness. "Come on, hold together," he muttered, pulling up on the flight stick with everything he had. The ship's hull groaned under the stress as it entered the atmosphere, flames licking at the viewports. Marcus had been running for 3 days straight, ever since he'd stumbled upon the hunter's secret base. What he'd discovered there would change everything. If he could just survive long enough to warn someone. The impact came like thunder. Marcus felt his body slam against the restraints as the ship carved a brutal furrow through the alien forest. Trees snapped like twigs, and the screech of tearing metal filled the air. When everything finally stopped moving, an eerie silence settled over the crash site. Marcus hung upside down in his pilot's seat, struggling to breathe through the pain in his ribs. The acrid smell of burning circuits filled the cockpit, and he could hear coolant hissing from ruptured lines. He managed to release his harness and fell heavily to what had once been the ceiling. Every movement sent fresh waves of agony through his battered body, crawling through the wreckage. Marcus made it outside just as his ship's power core began to overload. He dragged himself away from the crash site, using tree trunks for support, but his strength was fading fast. The plasma burns on his arm had reopened. He could feel consciousness slipping away. That's when he saw her. She moved through the forest like liquid starlight, her silver skin catching the dappled sunlight that filtered through the canopy above. She was humanoid, but clearly not human, with elongated limbs and features that seemed almost too perfect to be real. Her hair flowed like mercury, and her eyes were the deep violet of twilight skies. Marcus tried to speak, to warn her about the hunters who might still be tracking him, but only a rasp emerged from his throat. The alien woman approached cautiously, her violet gaze taking in his injuries with what appeared to be genuine concern. "You are far from home, Sky Wanderer," she said, in accented but perfect English, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "And you bring pain with you." She knelt beside him, and Marcus felt an immediate sense of calm wash over him. Her hands hovered over his wounds without quite touching, and a soft blue light began to emanate from her palms. The burning pain in his arm subsided, replaced by a warm, tingling sensation. "My name is Naya," she whispered, her eyes never leaving his face. "I am what your people might call a healer. You are safe now." Marcus wanted to protest that nowhere was safe with the hunters on his trail. But exhaustion overwhelmed him. As darkness claimed his vision, he felt strong yet gentle arms lifting him from the forest floor. Naya's scent surrounded him, something like jasmine mixed with ozone, and he found himself trusting this mysterious woman completely. When consciousness returned, Marcus found himself lying on a bed of soft, luminescent moss in what appeared to be a natural cave chamber. Crystals embedded in the walls provided a warm, steady light, and the air hummed with an energy he couldn't quite identify. His wounds had been carefully tended, wrapped in bandages that seemed to be made from some kind of organic fiber that glowed faintly at the edges. Naya sat nearby, grinding what looked like herbs in a stone bowl. She'd changed into simple robes that seemed to be woven from the same material as his bandages, and her silver skin had a subtle iridescent quality in the crystal light. "Welcome back to the waking world," she said without looking up from her work. "Your body needed much healing. The weapons that hurt you carry poison." "How long was I out?" Marcus asked, surprised to find his voice had returned. 2 days and 3 nights. I was beginning to worry. She set aside her grinding and moved to sit on the edge of his makeshift bed. "What brings hunters to our peaceful corner of the galaxy? Marcus Kane?" He started at hearing his name, and she smiled at his expression. "Your ship's computers were still functional when I went back for supplies. I also found this." She held up a data crystal, the one that contained everything he'd learned about the hunter's plans. "Perhaps you should tell me why this information was worth dying for." Marcus studied Naya's face in the soft crystal light, trying to decide how much he could trust her. The data crystal in her hand contained intelligence that could save thousands of lives, but it could also put her in terrible danger. "The hunters aren't just raiders," he began slowly. They're part of something bigger, an organization that's been systematically targeting worlds with unique energy signatures. They strip mine the resources and move on, leaving dead planets behind. Naya's violet eyes darkened. And you believe they have chosen our world? I know they have. Marcus struggled to sit up, wincing as his ribs protested. I was undercover in their organization for 6 months. That crystal contains proof of their entire operation, including their next targets. She was quiet for a long moment, turning the crystal over in her delicate hands. When she looked up again, there was a new resolve in her expression. Then you need to see what they're truly after, she said, standing and extending her hand to him. Can you walk? Marcus took her offered hand, surprised by the immediate surge of energy that flowed between them at the contact. Naya's eyes widened slightly, and he saw his own surprise mirrored there. She helped him to his feet, and he found that his strength had returned far more than should have been possible after such severe injuries. Your healing abilities? He said, still holding her hand. They're remarkable. It is not just healing, she replied softly, her fingers intertwining with his. My people have a connection to the life force that flows through all things, but you, Marcus Kane, you respond to it in ways I have never seen before. They made their way through a series of natural tunnels that seemed to pulse with the same energy Marcus had noticed in his recovery chamber. Naya moved with fluid grace, occasionally pausing to touch the walls with her free hand. Ow, each time. She did. The crystals in that section would brighten, as if responding to her presence. Where are we going? Marcus asked, as they climbed a gentle slope toward what appeared to be natural daylight ahead. To the heart of everything, Naya replied. To the reason the hunters want our world so desperately, they emerged from the tunnels, onto a ledge overlooking a vast natural amphitheater. Marcus caught his breath at the sight before them. In the center of the space stood a grove of trees unlike anything he'd ever seen. Their trunks were silver like Naya's skin, and their leaves seemed to be made of pure light. Energy flowed between them in visible streams, creating patterns that were both beautiful and hypnotically complex. The Starlight Grove, Naya said reverently. For 10,000 years, it has maintained the balance of life on our world. Without it, our planet would become like the dead worlds you spoke of. Marcus watched the flowing energy with growing understanding. It's a planetary life support system. Trees are like massive bioprocessors, converting stellar energy into something that sustains your entire ecosystem. You see it, Naya breathed, moving closer to him. Most off-worlders cannot perceive what you are seeing. But you see the connections, the flow of life itself. She was right. Marcus could see the energy streams extending beyond the grove, flowing through the ground and into the surrounding forest. It was like looking at the nervous system of an entire planet laid bare. If the hunters destroy this, he said, the full implications hitting him, your entire world dies. Yes. Naya turned to face him fully, and in her eyes he saw not just the weight of her world's fate, but something else. Something that made his heart race, despite the gravity of their situation. This is why I saved you, Marcus Kane. Not just because you were injured, but because I felt it the moment I touched you. You were connected to the grove in ways even I do not fully understand, as if responding to their presence. The nearest trees began to pulse more brightly. Marcus felt a tingling in his chest, a warmth that seemed to reach out toward the grove like an invisible hand. Naya, he whispered, stepping closer to her. The energy flowing around them seemed to intensify with their proximity. I can feel it. The connection you're talking about? She reached up to touch his face, her palm warm against his cheek. My people have legends of skyborn guardians who would come in our darkest hour. Warriors who could bond with the grove and help defend it against those who would do it harm. You think I'm some kind of prophesied guardian? Marcus asked, but even as he spoke, he could feel the truth of it resonating in his bones. The grove was calling to him, welcoming him like an old friend. I think you are exactly who you need to be, Naya replied, rising up on her toes to bring her face closer to his. And I think the universe sent you to me for a reason. Their lips met in a kiss that sent shockwaves through both of them and the grove around them. The trees flared with brilliant light, and Marcus felt the planetary life force flowing through him like a river of pure energy. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. "The hunters will come," Naya whispered against his lips. "They always do." "Then we'll be ready for them," Marcus replied, his arms encircling her waist. Together. 3 days had passed since Marcus's first witnessed the Starlight Grove, and each day had brought him and Naya closer together in ways that transcended the physical realm. As they worked to prepare defenses for the inevitable hunter attack, their connection to each other and to the grove had grown stronger. Marcus found he could channel the planetary energy through his body, enhancing his strength and reflexes beyond human limits. But today, everything changed. Marcus was practicing combat forms in a clearing near the grove when Naya's urgent mental call reached him. The telepathic link they'd developed still amazed him. Another unexpected gift of their bond with the planetary life force. "They're here," her voice whispered in his mind. 3 ships, approaching from the northern vector. Marcus sprinted back toward the grove, his enhanced speed carrying him faster than any normal human could move. He found Naya standing at the edge of the energy field that surrounded the sacred trees, her silver skin glowing with power as she reinforced their defenses. "How long do we have?" he asked, coming up behind her and placing his hands on her shoulders. "Minutes, maybe less." She leaned back against him, and he felt their combined energy flowing into the protective barrier. "Marcus, there is something you should know. The lead ship, its energy signature, is familiar to me." Before he could ask what she meant, the first hunter vessel crested the ridge above them. It was a sleek Predator-class ship built for speed and destruction. As it descended into the amphitheater, Marcus felt his blood run cold. He recognized that particular configuration of hull modifications. "No," he breathed. "It can't be." The ship touched down with practiced precision, and its boarding ramp lowered. The figure that emerged made Marcus's world tilt on its axis. She was tall and athletic, with short-cropped auburn hair and piercing green eyes. Her hunter's gear was top of a line, and she moved with the confident stride of someone who'd never met a challenge she couldn't overcome. "Zara," Marcus whispered. Commander Zara Cross had been his partner, his lover, and supposedly his best friend. She'd also been reported killed in action 6 months ago. The tragedy that had driven Marcus to go undercover with the hunters in the first place. Seeing her alive and apparently working for the enemy felt like being stabbed in the heart. "Hello," Marcus Zara called out, her voice carrying easily across the distance between them. "You look well for a dead man." "You're supposed to be dead," Marcus replied, his voice hoarse with shock and betrayal. "Funny thing about that," Zara said, signaling for her troops to spread out in a flanking formation. "Turns out survival is easier when you pick the winning side." Naya stepped forward, interposing herself between Marcus and the hunters. Her whole body blazed with protective energy, and the grove behind them pulsed in response to her emotional state. "You will not harm the sacred trees," she declared, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air itself vibrate with power. Zara's gaze shifted to Naya, and Marcus saw something ugly flash across his former partner's features. "So this is what you've been doing while I thought you were dead? Playing house with the local wildlife?" "Zara, you don't understand what you're doing," Marcus said, stepping up beside Naya. "This grove is the only thing keeping this planet alive. If you destroy it, you'll commit genocide." "Genocide pays well these days," came a new voice. Commander Thane emerged from the second ship, a massive man whose cybernetic implants gleamed dully in the grove's light, especially when the client is willing to pay premium rates for total planetary sterilization. Marcus felt Naya's hand slip into his, their combined power surging. "Thane, I should have known you'd be behind this. Nothing personal, Kane, just business." Thane gestured to his troops. "Secure the energy source. Kill anyone who interferes." The battle erupted with devastating suddenness. Hunter soldiers opened fire with plasma weapons while Naya and Marcus drew upon the grove's power to create barriers of pure energy. The sacred trees blazed like stars as they fed power to their defenders. Marcus found himself facing Zara in single combat, while Naya held off the other attackers with waves of healing energy turned destructive. Each clash of their weapons sent shockwaves through the ground. "Why?" Marcus demanded as their blades locked together. We were going to be married. Were we? Zara snarled, pushing him back with enhanced strength. Or was I just convenient until something better came along? Like your silver-skinned girlfriend there? It wasn't like that, Marcus protested. But even as he spoke, he realized that what he'd felt for Zara paled in comparison to his connection with Naya, wasn't it? Zara's voice was bitter as acid. You disappeared for 6 months, Marcus. I waited. I grieved. And then I found out you were alive and playing hero with the hunter's target. Worlds, their fight carried them closer to the grove, where Naya was single-handedly holding off a dozen attackers. Her power was incredible, but Marcus could see the strain starting to show. She's dying because of you, Zara taunted. Your alien princess is burning herself out to protect some trees. Marcus felt rage unlike anything he'd ever experienced. The grove's energy responded to his emotional state, and suddenly he was moving faster than thought itself. He disarmed Zara and had his blade at her throat before she could. React, yield, he commanded. But Zara's eyes had gone wide, staring not at him, but at something behind him. Marcus turned to see Naya collapse, overwhelmed by the sustained assault. Several hunters were advancing on her fallen form. The choice between past and future crystallized in that moment. Marcus looked at Zara, saw the genuine shock and something that might have been regret in her eyes, then made his decision. Part 4. The final stand. Marcus released Zara and sprinted toward Naya's fallen form. The grove's energy surging through him like liquid lightning. The hunters advancing on her never saw him coming. His first attacker went down to a perfectly placed strike that sent paralyzing energy through the man's nervous system. The second and third fell to combinations of enhanced speed and the environment itself. As Marcus learned to channel the grove's power through the very ground beneath their feet, Naya, he reached her side and knelt, gathering her into his arms. Her silver skin had dulled to pewter, and her breathing was shallow and rapid. Stay with me. The connection, she whispered, her violet eyes struggling to focus on his face. It's breaking. Without me to channel it, the grove will collapse. Marcus looked around desperately. Thane's forces were regrouping, and more ships were descending from orbit. They had minutes at most before being completely overwhelmed. There has to be another way, he said, pressing his forehead against hers. I won't lose you. You won't, came Zara's voice from behind them. Marcus spun, expecting an attack, but his former partner had lowered her weapons. The neural interface crown. In Thane's ship, it's designed to let him control the grove's energy directly. Why are you helping us? Marcus demanded, even as he processed this new information. Zara's expression was complex, full of pain and regret. Because I just realized that what I mistook for betrayal was actually you becoming the man you were always meant to be. She looked at Naya with something approaching respect. And because she's dying to protect an entire world, even I'm not heartless enough to let genocide happen for a paycheck. The interface crown won't work for a human, Naya said weakly. It requires the biological connection my people have with living energy. What if it's not just one person? Marcus asked, an idea forming. What if we do it together? Your biological interface combined with my resistance to the energy overflow? It could kill you both, Zara warned. Thane tested it on captured natives. None of them survived more than a few minutes connected to that thing. But none of them had a bonded pair, Naya said, understanding dawning in her eyes. Marcus, our connection might be strong enough to survive what destroys individuals. Touching as this is, Thane's amplified voice boomed across the amphitheater. You're all about to become irrelevant. His massive form approached, flanked by 2 squads of elite hunters. The crown was just insurance. Orbital bombardment works just as well for clearing real estate. Marcus helped Naya to her feet, both of them drawing power from their physical contact. Around them, the grove pulsed with increasing urgency as it sensed the approaching threat. Zara, Marcus said quietly, if you're really switching sides, now would be a good time to prove it. Already on it, she replied, pulling out a device that looked like a modified communications array. Emergency broadcast to all Federation emergency bands. This planet is under attack by illegal corporate raiders. Sending coordinates and evidence now? Thane's face twisted with rage. You traitorous, actually, Zara interrupted. I prefer reformed. Kill them all? The final battle erupted with even more violence than before. Thane's elite troops were enhanced with military-grade cybernetics, but Marcus and Naya fought with the power of an entire planet backing them. Every tree in the grove contributed energy to their defense, creating a light show that could probably be seen from orbit. Marcus found himself matching Thane, blow for blow, their enhanced strengths making the ground shake with each impact. Meanwhile, Naya and Zara fought back-to-back against the remaining hunters, the former enemies finding an unexpected synchronization in their movements. Marcus. Naya's mental voice reached him. The crown? Zara's got it. He looked over to see his former partner emerging from Thane's ship. She tossed it to them just as a plasma blast caught her in the shoulder, spinning her around. Zara. Marcus started toward her, but Thane's massive fist caught him in the ribs. Attachment makes you weak. It's why humans will never rule the galaxy. Maybe, Marcus gasped, struggling to his feet as Naya helped him up. But it's also what makes us worth saving. They put the crown on together. The sensation was indescribable, like being struck by lightning while diving into a warm ocean. Every nerve in Marcus's body sang with power as he felt his consciousness expand to encompass not just himself and Naya, but the entire planetary ecosystem. The grove blazed with light so bright it was visible from space. Every hunter weapon simply stopped working as the electromagnetic pulse from their combined connection shorted out all technology within a kilometer radius. Thane's cybernetic implants sparked and failed, leaving him a merely human opponent against two beings channeling the power of a living, wreathed in silver fire. Not impossible, Marcus replied, his voice harmonizing with Naya's, even though she was 20 meters away, tending to Zara's wounds. Just unprecedented. This is what happens when love connects to the fundamental forces of life itself. The defeat of Thane was almost anticlimactic. Without his technological advantages, not domination. Part 5. New Beginnings. 3 months later. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the Federation research station that had been established in orbit around Nia's world. The planet below glowed with renewed vitality, its energy patterns more vibrant and stable than ever before. The Starlight Grove had not only survived the Hunter attack, but had somehow evolved, incorporating the unique harmonics of his and Naya's bonded consciousness into its planetary slow network, the Xenobotany team thinks. They figured out how the Grove's energy matrix adapted to include human neural patterns, Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief scientist, said as she joined him at the viewport. Apparently, though his attention was focused on the small shuttle approaching from the planet's surface, she's on her way up, Elena asked, following his gaze. Yes. The Council of Elders finally agreed to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Federation. Naya's been chosen as their first ambassador. Marcus smiled. Though I suspect she'll spend more time in the research labs than in diplomatic. The applications for healing, environmental restoration. And Marcus made his way to the airlock. When the doors opened and Naya stepped through, his heart still skipped a beat at the sight of her. She wore formal robes that seemed to be woven from starlight itself, and her silver skin held the warm glow that indicated she was drawing power from the grove even at this distance. My love, she said, moving into his arms with fluid grace. Their kiss sent ripples of energy through the station's bioneural networks. Marcus asked. Oh, he could already sense her satisfaction through their mental link. Unanimous approval, Naya replied. It seems your former partner. Zara made quite an impression during her testimony about corporate raiders and illegal planetary exploitation, Marcus nodded. Thinking of Zara's recovery from her injuries and her subsequent work with Federation intelligence, she'd found her own path to redemption, Naya asked as they made their way toward the research section of the station. 3 more worlds with Grove-like energy. The Federation wants us to make contact. See if we can establish protective protocols before the raiders find them. A life of travel among the stars. Protecting worlds and studying the connections between all living things, Naya mused, her violet eyes sparkling with anticipation. It sounds like the perfect adventure for a bonded pair. They entered the main laboratory. Each one was unique, but all showed the same underlying principles of connection and interdependence that Marcus had first discovered in the starlight. Grove. Dr. Vasquez thinks we might be looking at evidence of an ancient galactic ecosystem, Marcus explained, calling up a display that showed energy connections spanning multiple star systems, something that linked all inhabited worlds in a network of shared life force. The old stories speak of such a time, Naya said thoughtfully, when all consciousness was one consciousness, and the distances between stars were no barrier to connection and understanding. Maybe that's what we're really doing, Marcus suggested, taking her hand and feeling their combined energy resonate through the lab equipment, not just protecting individual worlds, but helping to restore that ancient network. One connection at a time, Naya agreed, her lips curving in a smile that could have lit up solar systems. Outside the viewport, her home world continued its graceful rotation. The starlight grew visible as a point of brilliant radiance on the day side. But Marcus's attention was focused entirely on the woman beside him. The love that had transformed him from a bitter, revenge-driven soldier into someone capable of channeling the fundamental forces of life itself. Ready for the next adventure? He asked, with you. Naya rose up on her toes to kiss him again, and this time the energy pulse from their connection reached all the way down to the planet's surface, causing the grove to flare with celebratory light. Always, as their ship prepared to depart for the next world on their list. Marcus reflected on how much had changed since that desperate crash landing months ago. He'd lost his old life, his old love, and his old understanding of what it meant to be human. In return, he'd gained something infinitely more precious, a connection that transcended species, distance, and even death itself. The universe was vast and full of wonders they'd barely begun to explore. But with Naya beside him, and the power of life itself flowing through their bond, Marcus knew they were ready for whatever challenges awaited among the stars. Their love story had become something greater, a beacon of hope for all the worlds that waited for protection, healing, and the restoration of the ancient connections that bound all consciousness together in one magnificent, eternal dance of existence.